these other nations, the United Kingdom, seem to have made up their minds that they want to go. I don't see any particular reason to try and force them to hang on. And England might do well to take the initiative and say, well, very well, then if independence is the thing, we'll be independent from you.
The Supreme Court is hearing the case for a referendum on Scottish independence. The question of whether Scotland should go it alone has been discussed endlessly for years, but you also do hear the sort of countervailing arguments around English independence. It's not always asked, but it is there in the background. Should England go it alone itself? The writer Peter Hitchins is with us. Good morning to you, Peter.
Good morning.
What's the argument then, in your view, for England separating itself from Northern Ireland, Wales and Scotland?
Well, why stick around being slapped around the chops with white herrings for the next 10 years when the outcome is almost certainly predetermined? These other nations, the United Kingdom, seem to have made up their minds that they want to go. I don't see any particular reason to try and force them to hang on. And England might do well to take the initiative and say, well, very well, then if independence is the thing, we'll be independent from you. If the response to this is, oh, we never meant it that way, then we'll know. But if it isn't, then all we will have done is circumvented a whole lot of useless struggle, which would do us no good anyway.
But is that true? Is that true, Peter? And so, Wales, I don't think there's never been a majority for independence. Scotland, the last time they asked, there was a majority to stay as part of the union. There's a lot of noise around it, and it may well be that Scotland eventually reaches a majority. That's certainly plausible. That doesn't feel plausible necessarily for the other home countries.
Well, as I say, if the other nations of the United Kingdom don't want to leave us, then I'd be delighted if they stayed. And even if they go, I'm very much in favour of leaving the light burning so that they can come back. I don't want a bad-tempered breakup of the United Kingdom. On the contrary, if I would like to see it reunited, but I don't see how we can conceivably do ourselves any good by getting in the way. We're not going to violently prevent these nations from leaving the United Kingdom. The whole direction, particularly since the Blair government's, in my view, mistaken plunge into widespread devolution, the whole direction has been for the breakup. You know what lies beneath this is the concept of limited sovereignty, which allows countries which are part of what are basically federal states, such as the United Kingdom, to leave and become, how should I say, slightly more independent than they were in the European Union. That's one of the main pressures that's going on. That's not going away. So if people want to go, let them go. If there'll be no harm done in England considering self-governance. At the moment, we have absolutely no serious idea of how we're going to run ourselves if we do become England on its own. We should start thinking about it. I'm raising this because I think I'm tired of us being the constant target of what seems to be in many cases to be unjustified resentment, instead of being respected as a nation in our own right, which has actually had very good relations with its immediate neighbours for many, many years.
Could you make a positive case for this? Because a lot of this debate tends to veer into negative arguments. Is there a positive case for why England would do better on its own?
Well, I think there's a positive case for rediscovering many of the things about England which we have forgotten. I think the hugely important basis of our country in liberty under the law, going right back to Magna Carta, and then, of course, the Bill of Rights of 1689, something which we more or less share with Scotland, and also just to examine and re-evaluate this whole tremendously important and, in my view, unique tradition of such things as the presumption of innocence, which make us freer than anywhere else, and indeed an adversarial parliament. Instead of forgetting, as we so often do, just how many good things there are which have made this country, as it most fundamentally, in many, many years of travel and living abroad, I think these are the fundamentals of civilization. The discovery and implementation of liberty under the law has been our great achievement. And we forget it all the time. And indeed, we saw off the branches we sit on and wear it away. It would be a very good thing if we looked again at our history and realized how lucky we were and capitalized on it. So a consideration of English independence might achieve that.
I mean, you could make the very strong case, of course, if you celebrate the Enlightenment, there was a lot of that came from Scotland.
Well, yes, of course it did, and I'd say I've got no. I don't want to separate from Scotland at all. My earliest memories of Scotland, I love Scotland, and it would be very sad to see it go. But after the huge mess we made over Irish Home Rule in the early part of the 20th century, I really don't want to get into another mess by being crabby and sticking and refusing to give way to what seems to me to be quite a powerful demand. And people say that rightly that Scotland voted against independence last time, but I'm pretty certain, I was up there the day of the vote, that it was Gordon Brown's intervention at the last minute, pretty much asking for independence as all but name, that prevented the vote from going for independence. And also, I think it is very much an age thing. But people in Scotland over 60 are much less enthusiastic about it, but those under 30 are extremely enthusiastic about it. And I think that the demand will only grow. And standing in its way, in a sort of lumpish, no, you can't go way, isn't actually going to persuade anybody in Scotland to say, oh, all right, then we're not interested in independence.
It's an interesting,
it's an attractive idea. People find it attractive. I don't blame them. I'm an English British patriot. I can understand other people's patriotism.